We're going to be talking about a couple subjects. So I think the first piece is a presentation on our water demand model. I don't know who is up first. Larry? Yes. Okay, so is Arizona Water, Reluca, you're going to
Yeah, I'll introduce Reluca here in
Okay,
just
I'm
1
sorry.
minute.
Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, no problem.
You
No
have to put my
problem.
glasses on so I can see over there.
Yes, yes. You know, tonight's first subject is water and water conservation and what we are doing in our partnership with Arizona Water. And just to remind you, there's a website on the Chamber's webpage that talks about the Save It campaign. And I'll just read a couple of sentences on that and then introduce Reluca. Our community is the first in the state to have a city government and a private utility company working on a comprehensive demand management program. To meet all conservation requirements, the city and Arizona Water Company entered into a public-private partnership to leverage the strengths of both organizations. This started in April of 2021, and they've launched the Save It campaign, and Reluca can explain it much better than I can, so we have enjoyed our partnership so far, and at this time I'd like to introduce Reluca from Arizona Water Company.
Hello, my name is Reluca Mielchescu. Thank you so much, Steve, for that introduction. So I am the first, emphasis on first, water conservation specialist that Arizona Water Company has. And I'm going to be giving a presentation on, the demand management program and what we've done up to date. I'm going to be focusing specifically on one element that we've developed and worked very closely with the city on. And then we'll transition it over to Greg at some point. But thank you for having us today. I'm really excited to give this presentation and get you guys more in the loop on what's going on. So just a really quick agenda of what I'll be going over specifically. So we had our lovely introduction. Thank you, Steve. I'll be going over a really quick overview of the demand management program and just a terminology point. I use the phrase demand management program and water conservation program interchangeably. So please don't get confused. And then I'll be going over past turf conversion projects that the city has done. And then we'll transition into City Hall and what the opportunities are for City Hall. Okay, so I wanted to start by saying that the entire demand management program all started on a foundation of this 15% general land use plan goal of reducing our water use by 15% by the year 2050. So that was the impetus or the foundation for getting this program started and starting this partnership with the city. So in order to meet that goal, that 15% reduction goal, the city has already done their own efforts for conservation. Arizona Water Company also has their own efforts for conservation, but this program was to determine what more can be done. Where are more opportunities? How can we effectively reach that 15% goal? And in order to assess that properly, we conducted a comprehensive water use assessment. And again, I'm more than happy to give another presentation at another time to kind of dive into all the different elements. I'll be speaking about one thing specifically. And out of the comprehensive water use assessment, we determined that it would be appropriate to create a targeted measure called WaterWise Outside, and I'll dive into that a little bit later. But we launched our program April 1st, 2021. It was very, very exciting. Along that came a social media campaign, the Save It campaign, and Save It is directly in line with the Chamber of Commerce's Love It campaign that was going on, so that fit in really, really perfectly. And Arizona Water Company does have monthly meetings with the mayor and City of Casa Grande members in order to give updates on how things are going. And I will say, you will notice slight changes in the presentation that I'm giving today and the slides that you've received. I'm happy to speak to that a little bit later, but just be aware that there are some changes. So I mentioned there are a bunch of different elements within the comprehensive demand management program, but I'm going to be dialing into specifically the WaterWise Outside program. The reason why we developed that, the main reason is we wanted to make sure that we had a holistic conservation program. We realized that with launching the Save It campaign on social media, a lot of the focus was for residents and businesses on how they can adopt practices for water conservation. But we wanted to make sure it was holistic and that the message was that everyone is doing their part. And a big part of that is large-scale outdoor commercial water users. So that's what this program focuses on, how we can take advantage of opportunities for conservation outdoors for large-scale properties. Our plan was to start with city properties because we already have such an amazing relationship with the city. We're going to move on to HOAs and schools, just again to make sure that we're holistic and equitable. And one of the focus in the first few meetings what I had with Steve and Mike Edwards was making sure that we're looking through a lens of where is functional turf, how can we utilize that and make sure that we keep functional turf, and where are there opportunities for maybe reducing non-functional turf. And when I say functional turf, I mean turf that is utilized by the community, that is a resource. People play on it, people sit on it, people recreate and enjoy it. There are parts around the city where there absolutely is functional turf, and we want to keep that, and other areas where people don't utilize the grass as much, so maybe there's a potential to reduce and utilize that water somewhere else. Before I move on, I want to make sure that you guys know when I think water conservation as a conservation specialist, I have mainly two goals or objectives. The first one is to reduce water waste. By that I mean make sure that if there are leaks that we stop it, that water isn't used without a purpose. So that's the first goal. And then the second goal is the water that we are using, make sure that we're using it as efficiently as possible. Spread that drop as far out as we can. So that's kind of my ethic behind water conservation and my personal internal goals. So with the social media campaign, we wanted to make sure, again, that we were being holistic, and so we decided to create a Casa Grande Saves It mini-series, where through social media, we emphasize what the city has already done for water conservation and use it as a platform to highlight what we're going to be doing in the future and are currently doing. This did not originally come out as an idea in the first WaterWise Outside meeting. This kind of came out of having conversations with Steve and learning about what the city has already done and thinking, wow, that's such a great story. We want to make sure that the public is aware of it. And also trying to stay ahead of the curve and ahead of any negative comments that come up out of, what is the city doing? So this mini series highlights past conservation programs. These are examples of 3 posts that we've made. These are 3 turf conversion projects that have already been executed that I'll talk about a little bit later, but I just wanted to kind of show you what those posts looked like. If you haven't followed the Facebook page, I highly encourage it. We're on Instagram too. Just a no shame plug there. And what was interesting is every single time we posted about what the city has already done, the topic of City Hall came up naturally. So residents were posting, what about City Hall? These are 2 examples of comments where people were like, what about City Hall? The sprinklers and the grass. And so that was already kind of being brought to the surface. So although Steve and I already had conversations in our first few meetings about looking at City Hall, it was interesting that the public was also showing interest in that, which is why we dialed in a little bit more to City Hall. And before I move on, I wanted to mention that we have an opportunity. So with our social media pages, we have this amazing team called Blossom Digital Marketing. They help us do all of this. And we have an opportunity to do something called a social listening tool, which essentially lets us gather data on what the overall tone or perspective by the community is on a specific topic. So currently, we're using the social listening tool to determine how people feel about Arizona Water Company and help us find those comments and posts, but we can utilize the social listening too for City Hall as well, if and when we decide to continue posting about it. So I wanted to highlight quickly those 3 projects that I already mentioned, the first one being the Dorothy Powell Senior Center. So over 10,000 square feet of turf was removed at Dorothy Powell. It started around August 2019, ended November 2019, and where the yellow is, I've highlighted where that turf was removed. And I'll speak to the water savings that came out of that project in a little bit. And then there was Fire Station 501, a little over 3,000 square feet was removed there. That was also in early 2019. There's a really interesting story about how we incorporated plants at Fire Station 501 that we can talk to if we have time, but for now I'll skip over it. And then the Casa Grande Municipal Courthouse, turf was also removed there, a little under 6,000 square feet. So I wanted to include a graph to kind of highlight how those turf conversion projects translated to water savings. So I have the 2018 water use data, so that was before any turf was removed. 2019, that was in the middle of these projects, or right around when these projects, the end of 2019 was when some of them wrapped up. And then 2020, just to kind of highlight, for example, Dorothy Powell Center, where 10,000 square feet was removed, we reduced water use by 42% from 2018 to 2019, and then by 53% from 2019 to 2020 when that project was officially completed for over a year. Just to kind of speak to the positives of doing turf conversion where there's non-functional turf. And so now I'll go into City Hall. So the methodology that I use when I assess a property and we kind of talk about functional turf is we try to understand the current lay of the land. So using a fabulous GIS analyst that Arizona Water Company has in-house, we were able to map out where the turf is, where the desert landscaping is, where there's more high water use plants like annuals or roses or anything like that. And we came up with these numbers. So we have existing turf area over 47,000 square feet, desert landscaping or low water use landscaped area over 32,000 square feet, for a total landscapable area of about 80,000. So just to kind of give you some parameters of what the situation currently is and where those areas are. And before I jump into the model that we utilize to determine what some estimated water savings would be, I wanted to let you all know that it is really difficult to quantify true savings monetarily for some of these projects, just because there's a lot that goes into utility bills and rates and all of that. And so I'm going to mainly try and focus on water savings. But I developed within the first few months of my position, so I've been with Arizona Water Company for about a year, I developed an estimated water budgeting tool to help me model how much water would be saved if things were changed, if turf was reduced and desert landscaping was increased. These are some assumptions that come with that model, just to highlight that it is a model. It is not perfect. There's gray area. One of the things is that it assumes that water rainfall historically is consistent, which we all know is not true. Hardly had any rain in 2020, and then we had interesting patterns in the last year. So the information about the model, take with a grain of salt. It is meant to be a baseline and to give us something to work off of when we're thinking about doing turf conversion projects or removal projects. So when I put in that square footage that I showed you, for City Hall, this is what the estimated or calculated demand would be. So there's an estimated demand of about 2 million gallons per year for the current turf and landscape as it currently is. And that bar graph comes from the modeling tool to kind of highlight where that water is going and when it should be applied and all of that seasonally. I did not want to go into hypothetical cost savings, so I put in the true cost for what I estimate was used for irrigation at City Hall in the past 12 months, and that comes around to about $29,000, just to give you guys some metrics to go off of. So our current turf area is about 47,000. The proposal that we are bringing forward today would be proposing that we remove about 24,000 square feet to keep a remaining functional turf of about 23,000, so that's a 51% decrease in turf. And low water use landscapable area or desert landscaping, it's currently at 32. We would want to increase it by 25,000 to get us to about 57,000 square feet of desert landscaping. And I'll let Greg talk a little bit more about what that's going to look like and what are some amazing positives of having specific types of desert landscaping. But those are the two metrics that we're going to kind of look at: 51% decrease in turf, 78% increase of desert landscaping. So before I show you what the projections of how much water could be reduced, I want to elaborate a little bit more on assumptions. So using this tool, I'm going to assume that all the plants that get added in are desert plants and they've already been established. They're over 3 years old. Those are I just need to make sure I cross my T's and dot my I's when I work with this tool. So that is an assumption moving forward, but essentially, if we were to do that 51% decrease, 78% increase, it would overall lead to a 31% decrease of water usage for the landscape. So the purple bars are where we're currently at. The red bars is where we could be at if we applied those metrics to the current landscape at City Hall. And then the water would be reduced to 1.4 million gallons of demand. So what does that mean? So those numbers that I gave you were models. I wanted to apply the overall potential reduction is 635,000 gallons of water. To kind of put that in perspective, that amount of water is enough to supply about 5 to 8 homes in Casa Grande with water. Because I know otherwise 635,000 gallons is an arbitrary number. So when I take that reduction, that 635 gallons, and apply it to what was actually spent with water and for cost at City Hall last year, we see about a 13% reduction in water use and an 8% reduction on the water bill. And that is, again, taking this modeling estimate and applying it to true numbers from the past 12 months. In the next slide, I will pass this over to Greg, and he'll be able to dive into a little bit about what this conversion would look like. But I wanted to, before I hand it over, make sure that you all are aware that sometimes when we think about water conservation and specifically doing a turf conversion at a City Hall property, I would say that the metric for success should not necessarily be money saved on the utility bills, because we have an amazing opportunity, because there's already a public attention on City Hall and what we're doing with City Hall, to use changes at City Hall to build relationships with the community and really make sure that they understand that we're not just putting all the focus on them to reach this goal, that we're really all in this together, and we're going to get to that 15% goal together. So that is...
Luca, before you leave this screen,
Yes.
I know that you guys have calculated the dollar savings out if we maintain that, or we get to that 15% reduction in water use. What was the number is over 50-year lifespan that we were looking at? Do you remember, Terry Sue? Was it $460 million or something like that?
So
In today's water value?
yes, so the projected savings, assuming a 15% reduction in per capita demand, was about 5,600 acre feet, as I recall, and in today's dollars, if we had to replace that supply, would be about $47 million.
47 million. I had added a zero, sorry. Okay, still a lot of money. So that's the point. A little bit over a long period of time makes a big difference. So
Yes.
thank you.
Awesome.
Mr. Mayor, perhaps before Luca sits down, we're going to have plenty of time, so do you want to
Oh,
go
yeah.
back and cover the other three projects or entertain questions before we hand it off to Greg, or do you want to save those for the end?
We can say them
I
to the
can,
end.
yeah, we
Okay,
can
all right.
save some for the end. So.
Okay.
Greg? Yes.
Yep, come on up.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Hi, my name's Greg Swick. I'm a landscape architect. I've got a firm, the Morris Swick Partnership. We've worked with the town before here. This is my 32nd year in business. The last project I think we completed with Casa Grande was the rec center. We're on their on-call list, and that's when Steve had given me a call to come and take a look at this project. I think it's a great project that you're doing, trying to save water. I've been reading a lot about how Casa Grande is going to start growing. This whole area is going to start growing, so it's definitely something that we definitely need to pay attention to. I got two boards up here. One is the existing conditions, and one of them, if I can do this right, nope. And one of them is proposed. And the reason why I brought the existing ones out, just so that you can visually just see the difference. Basically what we talked about, I use the term programmable lawn area instead of functional, and it's basically the same thing. Lawn area that people can use, and then get rid of the lawn that's not usable. We talked about this building, this architecture here, and it's got this great walkway coming up to it, and we thought that the lawn on either side of that was functional. It not only is it aesthetic and forms a setting for the building, but it's also can be used for setting up displays and things like that. The public can use that. We also talked about the parades that come down Florence Boulevard, and we don't want the people sitting and the kids sitting on gravel. So we kept the lawn running down Florence Boulevard, and then I always come from the freeway. And I always like when you come past there and you get the shot of City Hall, that there is some grass coming through there. So that's what we did with the grass in that area. And we got rid of the rest of the grass. We got rid of the grass that's up on the median island as you come in on 8th Street. We were getting rid of the small fountain that's on the north side and putting a specimen tree in there to help kind of soften a lot of that asphalt that's out there. And then there's a small little portion of your property that's on the northwest corner. And we took that grass out over there, and that could be an area where we've got a bosque of trees, maybe stabilized granite, and then put some chairs and tables over there for people to go out and sit. One of the things that we need to do when you're asking people to get rid of their lush lawns and go with xeriscape, and a lot of people consider that desert, and then in their mind they think, oh, there's going to be this thirsty landscape that's out there. Being low water use in xeriscape landscaping, it doesn't need to look thirsty. It doesn't need to look barren. It can still be very interesting, great textural plants that have smells and things like that. So it's not meant to say we're going to tear the lawn out and then we're going to have this thirsty landscaping out there. One of the things you can see on the graphic that I've got up here is we're really going to buffer that parking lot from the street. So as you come in and you look at it, we're softening that parking lot a lot up there. One of the things I really always liked when I came to City Hall here is the memorial that you have for the kids out there. I always thought that was a really touching piece out there. There's a clock out there, and I'm not sure the history of that clock, but one of the things that I was proposing on this is if you have a parade and the kids are out there, what can the kids do? I don't want to put a playground out in City Hall, but we were maybe doing a labyrinth or something like that out there, so it's more of a passive plaything for the kids to play, and that way you got kids playing in an environment where, or in an area where you're trying to be respectful of kids that didn't have a good childhood. In those areas too, we would do more of a xeriscape demonstration garden. The rest of it, we're talking a bit xeriscape landscaping, but this would be more of a demonstration. We would have a lot more different plants in those areas. Same thing over on the west side where the fallen city workers are. I'd like to create that being more of a demonstration garden in there, as a xeriscape demonstration garden. Then on the north side in the courtyard, on either side of those could also be areas that could be for demonstration gardens. But like I said, the rest of the xeriscape landscaping would not be, like I said, it'd be low water, but it would also be a lush landscape. So not only are we trying to save water with reducing the lawn areas, but also with the irrigation. There's controllers out there now that are very smart controllers. They tap into weather stations, so they can actually control. They can shut off if it's windy out, so that you're not spraying lawn when it's windy out, and it'll readjust and do that at a different time. We'll have a master valve and a flow sensor on there, so if there's any breakage in the system, it'll automatically shut down. So we're not watering if there's a problem out there. The piping, it'll be a hard pipe drip irrigation system, not the poly tubing. So it'll be a substantial irrigation system for less leaks. Obviously, we'll use emitters to water to irrigate the plant material, the most efficient way to do that. And again, the sprinkler heads, we'll be using low angle sprinkler heads to help with wind throw. Also, we'll be irrigating, we'll schedule to irrigate at night so that we will have less evaporation. Yes?
Any reclaimed water that you use for watering the plants in the park and those type of things?
I don't know if there is any reclaimed water out here. We normally will do that if there's a pipe nearby. But that's the only time I've ever used it. It would be great to use it if we've got it available.
Yeah, it'd be a good use. I know in Phoenix, they have planted trees with canopies, and it drops their temperatures down. And the park right here is known all over the state for people to drive in and see all those big trees and say, boy, that's a pretty place, and let's stop and take a look or whatever. But as I say, it's a catch-22 when you come to, you need water for trees and certain plants, and the certain plants need to pay back if they are canopied or whatever. But and I didn't know if there was any way to, I don't know, does Maricopa scatter their water through the different areas?
They do, but Maricopa was set up that way, a purple pipe all over the city.
Yeah.
We don't have purple pipe, though, unfortunately.
Let's get a
We're digging.
can or two of,
We'll just bring out a truck.
Mr. Powell, if I can interrupt for a moment, we do use affluent water at the golf course, at Dave White Golf Course.
yes, I did know that, and I
Yes.
think that is really a good idea. I think anything you can do on conservation is good, but you want to make sure you're not destroying some of your assets in trying to to accomplish this. And I think, you know, anytime you can save water, conserve water, and you're not affecting something else in a negative manner, it's a pretty good deal.
One of the things I forgot to mention is as you come up to the entry of City Hall, we've got those two landscape areas that are kind of basins where they flow down. Those are really hard to keep water on and water the plant materials, so you're just basically wasting water. It's just flowing out. This plan proposes to have some retaining walls so that they would be terraced, so that you've got, it would be more for water harvesting. Plus, you've got windows that are covered up down there. And we'd be putting the plants in between them, but then there's also really nice plants that'll cascade over those walls. So we'll be able to landscape those areas and give a nicer look to the offices.
The water pipes actually came right by Pierce Park and right up by the city all the way out in times past. And I don't know if we're harvesting any water that way. I don't think we are we, Larry?
Any other questions? Greg, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Steve, anything else?
I do not. Did you have any questions for Raluca on her presentation?
I asked my question.
Yeah, and Larry suggested that I also bring up the other properties that we're focusing on for Waterwise Outside. So if we don't have any questions on that, I can also speak to those
That's a good idea.
as well. So the really fun thing about the Waterwise Outside program is that we looked at all of the properties the city maintain, but there are a lot. I think there were like 18 or 17, which is a pretty big undertaking. So in meetings with Steve and Mike Edwards, we tried to dial in onto maybe the top 3 and have like a phase out program. So we started looking at City Hall, and the other 2 properties we wanted to look at were Carmick Nat, which already some amazing conservation efforts have been adopted there. The things that Greg was talking about with the smart controller and the flow sensor, those are all things that have been executed at Carmick Nat and been doing really, really well in order to conserve water at those fields. So looking at that area, and then looking at Ivy Park, which is a retention area that has a lot of turf, but other than what we can assume isn't utilized too much, or there's some opportunities to save water there because it is a retention area. So those are the other 2 projects that we've been kind of looking at, just to make sure that we're being, we're not just pigeonholing ourselves with one project or 2, but looking at different opportunities and kind of weighing the benefits.
And maybe you can explain to City Council too, I don't know if they were copied on that communication or not, but the offer to our HOAs to do the water
Yes.
evaluations
Yes.
for
So,
free?
yeah, Arizona Water Company, we paid into a contract with a gentleman named Gary Woodard. He got a grant from the Department of Water Resources to do irrigation audits, more of a sense of looking at existing irrigation infrastructure and seeing where there are leaks, with a specific emphasis on HOA common areas. And so because Arizona Water Company hopped on board with that, we provided extra funding. We're allowed a certain number of audits by Gary, and so we're looking at HOAs in Casa Grande, looking at their water usage, taking a really analytical perspective and approach to determining, where are HOAs with common areas that maybe have leaks or that are trending upwards with their water usage. We've already executed an audit at Ironwood Village, and that went super, super well. I hope no one lives there, but there were a lot of water leaks in the common areas, so a huge potential for savings, which is a good thing. That's exactly the type of assessment that Gary is intended to be doing for those HOAs. So that's something that is
Just
on
the
our
Coolidge
agenda.
guy lives there. Miller.
Yes.
Question. So I like it. I see your website, our website, Facebook page,
Yes.
and it attached to the chamber website. And I saw the suggestions like the voting, and I saw when it was on Instagram and stuff, voting for the types of plants. So could homeowners go on there? Is there suggestions for here's what plants you could plant? If they're looking to do something, and how much water they take to help a homeowner plan to. I mean, I know the HOA, and that's great, and I don't think there's enough money right now to design every homeowner's yard, but maybe we could give like some suggestions and stuff. Is that part of the program?
Yeah, absolutely. We have some amazing online free resources that talk specifically about that. So the Arizona Municipal Water Users Association, which is more of like a central Arizona group, they published a guide that is exactly that, what plants are native to the area, how much water they need, and we've posted that online. We also attend a lot of outreach events where we're pushing people towards that website and making sure that people have the resources available to put together an amazing landscape.
Look, you had an earlier slide that showed some of the stuff that we've been posting online.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a how-to kind of programs. So there's different programs that they've had out there
Yeah, yeah.
I was kind of giving her softball.
under the CG.
Oh, and I am open to recommendations. If you're like, hey, I think the public would absolutely love to learn about this, I'm all ears. Because right now it's just me coming up with the content, what I think would be effective, engaging with the community and doing surveys and trying to figure out what they want. So
Have you thought about working with the county extension office too, with their gardening department possibly?
the Master Gardeners?
Yeah.
Yeah, a few different times. We, I forget what they're called. There's a community garden somewhere in Casa Grande. I don't remember the name of it, but they just put together a workshop working with Master Gardeners. And yeah, we were involved a little bit with that and making sure the public, that was a really amazing education opportunity where people can go and learn about rainwater harvesting and actually put plants in the ground.
All right.
And so, yeah, looking at things like that, the Master Gardeners are an amazing resource.
You know, and I just want to add on because, and I don't live in Ironwood Village, but in Ironwood Commons, but I know that with HOAs, they have specific that we must have X amount of trees, X amount of bushes. And I think that that's the place that we need to start doing some education because some of those things are just not viable,
Yeah.
you know, where we live. And so I think to educate them because we're basically out of compliance, you know, and so I think the education part for the HOAs is going to be really important, starting with those boards.
Type of plants to put in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying if they, you know, if we want to tell them which kind is best, they may have to go back and look at, you know, their own language.
Especially with all these new developments.
Oh, absolutely. If you guys have HOA board meetings that you would love me to be at, I would love to be there. So,
Card.
yes.
I think you're the only person that loves to be at HOA board meetings.
Yeah, I see a need and I try to fill a need.
You have a very good personality, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you.
Two things I'm wondering about. When it rains, we get a lot of water that goes down. A lot of the streets have been burned so that it'll go down the center, get in the ditches here. Do we claim any of that, Larry, or does it just go wherever it goes?
Mr. Powell, it essentially goes wherever it goes. There's not really an opportunity for us to claim it or harvest it. There's not any type of credit that we can obtain by the runoff. But I suspect that as new innovations and the like are developed, that there will be many of our development communities that will begin to attempt to utilize other types of water besides domestic water for these types of purposes.
I know a lot of people, not a lot, but quite a few have large containers to catch rainwater on their own property so they can use it.
Yeah,
How
well,
about,
the new project that they're building across from Safeway, that's all underground water storage,
Wow. That's really cool.
all of it,
From where?
from stormwater. So they don't have retention
Okay,
areas, so they
that's
put
the
they put
stormwater.
underground storage containers in the ground. That new project across from Safeway is all underground storage.
Big things.
And I'm trying to figure out a legislative way to get us credit for that water when we stick it back in the aquifer.
She has a good personality. You can work with her.
I have.
What are we doing about artificial turf? Is there places where it needs to look really sharp like grass, but you go into artificial turf? I know it needs to be washed off occasionally. It's not water-free, but it's certainly
Very hot.
cheaper. And I just was wondering, like in front of the city hall or different places you like to really create an image of. Have we considered that at all? I don't know.
Sure, Mr. Powell, I think I can help answer that question. In what we presented tonight, we did not present artificial turf in front of City Hall. Obviously, we can look at artificial turf with any project that we have, but we would like to get your feel for if City Hall had 50% less or whatever the number is, turf, I would like to get some feedback to see if we want to continue with that project, because removing turf doesn't happen just overnight. The projects that we did internally, we did it through a series of spraying Roundup or some sort of chemical, stopped watering, it looks brown for quite a while, then some physical labor of removing the dead turf. City Hall, we probably would propose a different approach, because it might look really bad for about a year. If you go by the library right now, we're in the midst of doing one in-house, and the library turf has looked poor for a little while as we're doing this process that we do internally. And our guys change the irrigation, and they adjust the sprinklers and adjust the drip and everything, so that we do have some landscape, but then we replace a lot of it with gravel. So the City Hall project would be a very big one, and people would notice for sure.
I have a guy that I know of that when it rained and that water runs down Second Street, he was at the Wonder Bar, and he went down to the grocery store and he bought 2 fish. He came back and he tied on to them, and the water was probably about this deep, and he was showing people he was pulling fish out of there. And
Sure.
they were about to have some wrecks.
I think that when we're talking about, what looks bad for a while while we're fixing it, that is an opportunity for us to educate
Absolutely.
the community,
Yes.
and even perhaps in those areas to
Do
be
you have
able to
signs?
put up signs and stuff that
Sure.
say,
Yeah,
in progress, and
conservation
explain
in
that,
progress.
because I think that's a really good opportunity for education.
And I'm not proposing that we kill the turf here. What we would probably do is a more comprehensive project where we're actually removing it physically, changing the irrigation. It would be a big project. It wouldn't be just something that you just turn off the water and let it die.
Right,
So
to redesign.
we probably need to talk about that further, budgeting and getting a project cost, but
Go ahead, Matt.
there's a lot of, there would be a lot in this particular project that will go into it, rather than just letting it die and putting down gravel.
A couple things for what Miss Donna said here is, it'd be great if we had this is part of our Save It campaign, on these areas, so people know that. So then we don't get the calls like, what are they doing? It looks
Exactly.
terrible, But also, so I wrote that down actually.
Tearing down my city hall.
But the other thing is you mentioned roses as high water use, but I wouldn't like to see our rose garden go away anytime soon.
No.
But the city hall, so when I first saw this, I'm looking in it, from what I can see here on this picture, it just looks like you extended the parking lot, But when you showed the picture of like a labyrinth type and that picture, then I'm like, that's kind of what we want. But then you said the B word too. We need to see what's in the budget.
Sure,
right?
sure.
But
Canopy trees in that.
yeah, but something like that would be great. And then I had a question for Greg too, because he brought up not to be forgotten, Greg. He brought up the decomposed granite, and I'm not the biggest fan. I imagine it's economical, and
That's what all that is.
I know, but I mean, I'm more fan of the bigger rocks. And when I see decomposed granite, I think of the little fine stuff. Okay, so I mean, be more like landscaping type. Okay, when I think of decomposed granite, I think it's almost like dirt. What's that?
If I could address the synthetic
They look
turf,
almost like aspen trees.
it's very, very hot in the summertime.
Yeah.
We actually irrigate it.
These are birch.
For play areas for kids, so that they can get out of there. Otherwise, if a dog
It's
goes on it,
super
it's
hot.
gonna burn its feet, the kids are gonna burn, so. I'm not a big fan of that in a setting like this, to be honest with you. I think they need,
Yeah, there may be better places to use it.
yeah.
Yeah, and if I can piggyback a little bit off of that, so Greg earlier mentioned demonstration gardens. So a demonstration garden is essentially a landscape where you have placards and signs to educate people that are looking to add plants to their landscape, so they can walk by and say, wow, what an
like
incredible
that.
tree,
What
what
is
is that? And then they can go and add it to their own landscape. And I think if we shy away from artificial turf and keep the real turf, there's also an opportunity to educate people on what water conservation for watering turf looks like. what is a smart controller? What are, pressure regulating sprinkler nozzles and pressure regulating drip systems? What does that even mean? We want to really emphasize to people that water conservation is not getting rid of all of turf. There are really smart ways and efficient ways to water it, and we want to emphasize that, and there's an amazing opportunity to emphasize that with keeping turf at City Hall. So,
Most of the conservation's done in smaller units, aren't they? Or like, you don't have anything that gets water into the Grand Canyon or one of the other places when the Colorado River, when you get a good rain.
I'm not sure I understand the question entirely.
Well, it's just an example. And I live in the Coyote Ranch, and on Coyote Ranch, we took about maybe a sixth of the grass out, and we put in a decompressed or compacted walkway, kind of like what we're doing for our 1 mile that we just finished. It's the same type of surface. And so we actually eliminated a huge amount of watering because our water bill was outrageous. And as part of the HOA board, we made that decision. So it cost us a little bit of money to do it, but we made up in the savings on the water, actually within the first year of it being done. So there's things you can do. There's even at Dave White, there's a ton of space we could probably take out of grass in Dave White, but that's another project I know. So.
Yeah, and we're looking at all of those comprehensively as we go. Reluca mentioned that, and one topic on the signage as we go, this great partnership that we have. We have signs up for sure at Dorothy Powell.
And the splash pad.
And the splash
Yes.
pad, and signs coming at 501,
Yes.
and it explains the process.
Put a little less word in it and just so people will read it.
Water
And I don't
saving
know,
project.
there might be an example of it on the one slide that has the
I
three.
saw it at Dorothy.
Yeah, I've seen, we
Yep.
saw the Dorothy Powell one.
Yeah, so which way am I going? I can't tell.
I think you're going the right way.
Am I going the right way?
I'm sorry.
There you go.
There we go.
I guess there
I
isn't a
don't
sign.
think.
You sent it
yeah.
in an email, isn't it?
Yeah,
An
we
email?
I
saw
thought I
it.
saw
Okay.
one at,
We did.
Yeah. and-
We email a lot, and so I know I've passed it, and I think I forwarded on to you, so.
Yeah, so part of the Saves It, the mini series, is putting up signage to make sure that we're really transparent about conservation, because that was a big thing that we were getting comments on about the splash pad is how are you emphasizing water conservation and yet we just built in a splash pad? These things don't make sense, and so we emphasize with that sign how conservation was at the forefront of the splash pad and how we're able to have really nice things if we just make sure that we use our water super efficiently. So, more to come.
All right, thank you, Reluca. Thank you to Arizona Water as
Thank
well for all you
you.
guys' work.
thank you.
And Greg, thank you. Thank you, Steve. All
Mr.
right.
Mayor,
Yes,
if I
sir.
can make one comment for the mayor and council and for the residents watching this evening, the mayor and council will be taking action on a city hall project later this evening. That does not include any of the discussion that we've had this evening related to turf reduction. It is specifically to the pathway, the sidewalk replacement. So just make sure that everybody's clear on that.
So it's not going to be in that number?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is that it, Larry?
It's on the Colorado River.
Okay, well, we'll stand adjourned for 15 minutes, and we'll reconvene at 7 o'clock.
This.
Thank you, everyone. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's city council meeting on 2/22/22. In case you didn't know what today was, and it's a Tuesday. Just saying. Tuesday. All right. So we'll call the meeting to order. And first order of business is our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. So I'm going to call up Pastor Robert Castro from the Calvary Chapel Church today. And Pastor, thank you for being here and leading us in our invocation. And please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, I want to thank you for the privilege, actually, of being here this evening to present this invocation. And if you will bow your hearts with me, please. Father in heaven, we thank you, Lord, that as we're meeting here, as this council is meeting here, and with all the different areas to consider and different presentations to be brought forth here tonight, Lord, we ask that your Holy Spirit would grant wisdom to this body here. Lord, there's so many different areas of managing a city in a changing environment and economy and into the future, things to be planned for, to safeguard our city through our police and fire, through all of our first responders, Lord, and to just bring this city along in a way, Lord, that's prosperous, that is safe. Lord, I pray that you would equip all of these members of this board with your Holy Spirit, with your wisdom, courage when it's needed, Lord. And of course, I know, Lord, you love our city. You love the streets of our city and the people that call this place home. Lord, I pray and invite you tonight to be here again with your presence, your Holy Spirit, to lead, guide, and equip all of this, Lord. And of course, it's in the matchless name of your Son that we lift this up. And it's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Mr. Powell. All right, let the roll call show that all council members are present. Mr. Huddleston via teleconference.
So noted.
Glad to have you back, Bob.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, the minutes, our next agenda item.
Okay, the minutes, you've done the roll call, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The minutes we've got, we have the ones that we're going to approve for the city council regular meeting minutes of February 7th. And then the rest of these we accept for the record, and we consider and accept the planning and zoning commission minutes of January 6th, 2022. Consider the acceptance of the youth commission minutes of January 8th, 2022. Consider the acceptance of the police personnel retirement board minutes from January 21st. Consider the acceptance of the police personnel retirement board minutes of February 9th. And I move these, that we approve these.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, all the minutes are approved. Next item is item D, claims against the city.
Mayor McFarland, I move to accept and pay the claims dated February 2nd through 15th, 2022 as presented.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, they are approved. Next item is our meeting agenda approval. Does anybody have any changes? Anything from staff? We have none, Mr. Mayor. All right, seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. We do have a special presentation tonight, so if I can ask our finance director to come forward, as she's here, there she is. Report which we've received numerous years since 2012, and I think there's a spot for a 2020, 21 there, but it's not there, so is it coming in the mail? All right. So this is from the Government Finance Officers Association, and it's out of Chicago. It's the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada, otherwise affectionately known as the GFOA. Has awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting to the City of Casa Grande for its annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2020. The report's been judged as an impartial panel, or by an impartial panel, to meet the high standards of the program, which includes demonstrating a constructive spirit of full disclosure to clearly communicate this financial story and motivate potential users and user groups to read the report. It's a very excellent report. It has a lot of good factual information in it. I use it all the time for when I'm meeting with folks. So I just want to say congratulations to you and your staff. All right, we'll move on to next item on the agenda, which is our consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion and one roll call vote of the council. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. Is there anyone on council that needs to remove anything or wants to remove anything? Bob, anything you want to remove?
No, sir.
All right. Anybody, staff, anybody in the audience?
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, the next item on our agenda is item H, and this is a call to the public. So this is an opportunity. I will open the floor for anybody here who is present that would like to address the council. Remember to please keep your comments to 3 minutes. And also, I want to remind everybody that since it's not an agendized item, we cannot discuss it, but we can give staff direction to follow up at a later point. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council? You guys are letting us off easy.
We've been doing a good job.
I know, I guess so. All right, well then I'll close the floor and we'll move on. Next item is the first item under our awards of contracts, which is item I1, considering approval of resolution number 5386. And Chief, I see you in that spot.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I learned a new word today, palindrome.
Palindrome.
Same
Means
forward and
22, 22, same thing backwards and forwards. So. Pretty cool. I'm here to talk to you tonight about awarding a design builder contract to Kerr Construction for our new fire station 503. We're requesting the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Kerr Construction to serve as our design builder for our new fire station. and initially authorizing an amount of $626,000 for design build services and $64,432 for pre-construction services for the design phase. The total amount requested is $690,717. We received a total of 7 statements of qualifications when we sent this out, and they were all received by October 18th of 2021. The clerk's office received the 7 proposals. We did the interviews in accordance with Arizona state statutes and the city's procurement code, and Kerr Construction was selected as the most qualified contractor who could provide the best value for the project. This project is in our 2021-2022 Capitals Improvement Plan list that you approved, and that's why we've come in before you this evening to ask for this resolution.
Chief, I just have one question. Have we decided where it's going yet?
Yes, sir, it's the northwest corner of Pinell and Rodeo.
Okay. I wasn't sure that had been made public yet, but I must have missed it. Oh, it's in the report, okay. No, I think that's great spot, so. And then what timeline do you think?
We're not absolutely positive on the timeline. They're still running into supply issues and stuff with the different projects, but the commitment that they made to us in the interviews was about a 14-month period from start to finish. But I can tell you that, for example, our block wall project and overhead cover project that's going on at fire headquarters was supposed to last for 4 months, and we're about 6 months into it right now. So the supply issues are definitely still hitting. Kevin can tell you about this stuff. I mean, the supply issues are incredible.
We hear it everywhere. And then one other question, so that's an ADOT signal, right? But
It
we
is.
still have control over the signal?
It is an ADOT signal, but we already have control over
Okay.
that signal. We have an Opticom system on that signal that's maintained by Public Works.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll have to do some modifications to that once the fire station is in there, and we'll work through all those issues.
Additional lighting?
I don't know about additional lighting, but typically on an intersection like that where you're coming out from Rodeo, we'd turn everything red with the exception of eastbound Rodeo. So all 3 would stop, and the fire engine could come eastbound on Rodeo, no problem, and then go whichever way they're going to go.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Let's get it going.
Bob, you have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, well, seeing no questions, then I'll entertain a resolution, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5386, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting the proposal for professional services from Kerr Construction, Inc. to provide design build services for Fire Station 503, authorizing expenditure of public funds and authorizing the execution of a contract by the city manager.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 5386 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Gloria?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay, move to item I2, which is consider resolution number 5382. Kevin?
Thank you. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to enter into a construction manager at risk contract with AGP Electric to construct a new traffic signal at the intersection, traffic signal and intersection improvements at the intersection of Jimmy Kerr Boulevard and Sunland Road for a guaranteed maximum price not to exceed $733,599. As you are probably aware, Jimmy Kerr Boulevard and Sunland Road is a very busy intersection. Sunland actually has direct access to I-10 with an interchange in the city of Eloy, and it also provides access to many businesses in that area, so a lot of traffic in that intersection. If you've read the paper of late, we've had some serious accidents at that intersection, so of course, getting this project done has been a priority for staff. We started the design of this project quite a while ago. A lot of different things happened during the process of designing this signal and getting it ready for construction. But we finally got it to the finish line, and we want to move forward with the construction now. The selection of the recommended construction company was done per the requirements of ARS 34-603. AGP Electric has been working with staff to finalize the construction details, working on lead times for the equipment, the scheduling of the project, and resulting in the proposed maximum guaranteed price. The total cost of the project is $1,257,229. This price includes the contract with AGP, which is the $733,599 contract that you're approving tonight. But there's also a component for UPRR, the railroad, at a cost of $523,630. And this price includes a $40,000 contingency, and that's to interconnect the signal with the railroad crossing so that they work in concert. We did budget for this project in this fiscal year, so with that, I'd be happy to answer any question. We did require a $310,000, $837 budget transfer to cover the cost overruns. With that, I apologize, I forgot to mention that.
Kevin, is Jimmy Kerr in there? Is that a state highway or is it not? Is it just a county road?
It is not. It used to be a state highway, but they turned that over to the county.
Too bad.
No assistance.
Kevin, glad to see it, especially after, this week there was an incident out there, so.
Couple of them.
I know it's been a long time coming for you guys, and I appreciate getting it going.
Any other comments or questions on it?
What's the timeline on that, Kevin? For it to really happen?
Dwayne would probably he would probably have a better idea of the construction schedule.
That's why I'm here.
I didn't want you to feel left out.
So the big issue is going to be the supply chain problems. So ordering equipment for a signal used to say 4 to 6 months. Now we're saying 9 months to a year. So it could be as much as a year before we have it totally completed.
Sure that 1.2 is enough money?
Right
I'm
now
just
it
kidding.
is. No guarantees.
God, the way things are going. All right, any other questions, comments? Thank you, Kevin. All right, I'll entertain a resolution, please, Gloria, for I-2.
Resolution number 5382, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting the proposal from AJP Electric, Inc. to provide construction manager at-risk services for the Jimmy Kerr Boulevard and Sunland Gin Road intersection improvement project, authorizing the expenditure of public funds, authorizing the execution of a contract, and authorizing the transfer of budget authority.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of resolution number 5382 as presented. And also, it's a dangerous without that stop sign there. There's been a lot of people that have run right onto the highway, so I think it's a good project.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item is item I-3. This is considering approval of resolution number 5383.
Thank you. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council approve the expenditure of funds for the purchase of 2 trailer-mounted portable changeable message signs from Road Safe Traffic Systems in Phoenix, Arizona, in an amount not to exceed $45,166. Staff released a solicitation for these 2 message board signs and received 2 bids. The lowest bidder at the time of the bid submittal was K&K Systems, but their product did not meet the specifications. Of the 16 specifications that we outlined in our solicitation, they did not meet 10 of those. So we are moving forward with a request to purchase from Road Traffic Systems in the amount of $45,166. These units are used for a variety of purposes from our streets department. They help us identify construction work zones, emergency traffic control, identify special event traffic control, and advise notice of future roadway and roadway closures. And we did have adequate funds available in this year's budget. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I just have a comment on this, you know, and I'm disappointed that the 16 specs were not made by the one company, but I'm glad that we don't lower our standards just because we have 2 bids. So thank you for sharing why they didn't get that bid.
Well, in this equipment, we have existing message signs, and we like to keep the equipment as consistent as possible so that we only have to train on one thing. Even though if somebody was the low bidder and it was appropriate equipment, we would have purchased.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, thank you, Kevin. All right, seeing no other comments, in, I'll call for resolution number, please, Gloria, on I-3.
Resolution number 5383, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a bid from Road Safe Traffic Systems, Inc. for the purchase of 2 trailer-mounted portable changeable message signs, authorizing expenditure of public funds and authorizing execution of a contract with or purchase order to Road Safe Traffic Systems, Inc.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve resolution number 5383 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item is item I-4, resolution number 5384. Kevin?
Thank you. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Young, Swenson, and Cross Paving, Inc. for the Santa Rosa Pavement Reconstruction Project for an amount not to exceed $964,796. And this does include a contingency, a city-controlled contingency of $42,000. I don't have that number correct. $42,000 and some change. I apologize, the typo there. We did do a formal solicitation, and we received 5 bids for this project. The Young, Swanson, and Cross Paving was the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. We did do reference checks, and they've done quite a bit of work in Arizona, so we feel comfortable moving forward with them on this project. This project is very similar to the project we did to the subdivision just to the east, or excuse me, to the west, which is the Rancho Grande project that we completed several years ago. So we're going to be going in doing soil stabilization prior to our repaving in that area. We found through our test holes that the soil conditions were very similar, so not wanting to take a chance and put pavement down on poor subgrade, we're going to go ahead and fix that up. We do have adequate funds after some transfers to cover the cost of this project in our budget. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Do we put up sign, how far in advance do you give the neighbors notification?
That's all worked out with our contractor at the time when we do the pre-construction meeting, and we'll go over what our requirements are. But typically, they're putting out notices well in advance, And then through our web, or our Facebook pages, if there are changes in the construction schedule, we'll use that to reach out to the residents.
And do we let people know how much money the city and they're getting back in terms of their tax? You know, in other words, this is money that the city collects is primarily through sales tax, but goes back into their neighborhood.
Yeah, most of these funds are coming from HERF dollars.
Okay, or even HERF
Highway User
dollars.
Revenue Funds. So that's where we cover the cost of these
Yeah,
projects.
that's their money too.
Yes,
so.
it is, absolutely.
So I guess my point was, do we try and let people know there's reinvestment being put back into their neighborhood?
We currently don't have a program where we put up signage associated with that, but it's something we can definitely look into.
Can we look into that, Larry?
Kinda cool.
Because I think as we move forward, and if RTA ever gets a decision by the Supreme Court, that was a plan we were going to do with the RTA. You know, your RTA dollars at work, right? Your regional transportation dollars. This can be, our local transportation dollars at work. And it can be just a generic sign that we could maybe move it around, right? Just like you do your no construction
just buying some
trucks or
movable
something,
signs.
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, we'll look into that.
Okay.
And maybe we just have a small sign we put over the main sign that says the funding source.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you, Kevin. Short and sweet. On the words. Not listening, okay. All right, no other comments, and I'll entertain a resolution number for I-4, please.
Resolution number 5384, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a bid from Young, Swenson, and Cross Paving, Inc. for the Santa Rosa Pavement Reconstruction Project, authorizing expenditure of public funds and authorizing the execution of a contract with or purchase order to Young, Swenson, and Cross Paving, Inc.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of resolution number 5384 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, let's move to item I-5, resolution number 5385. Kevin?
Yes, staff is recommending that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Wilson and Company for an amount not to exceed $629,998 for the wastewater capacity improvements conceptual design study. Of course, the city of Casa Grande is experiencing accelerated growth all around the city, including multiple large developments and industrial manufacturing complexes that are being planned to come online within the next 24 to 36 months. Currently, our wastewater facility has a capacity of 12 million gallons a day as designed. However, we only have a discharge capability today of 6 MGD. So that's just one of the many things that we need to do with our existing facility to get our capacity to that full 12 MGD and potentially maybe look at some infrastructure changes that could potentially increase the capacity of our existing facility. So going to be a very detailed study of what we have in place and what we need in the future. The study will develop a conceptual design report and cost estimates for the infrastructure improvements to increase the wastewater collection system necessary, as well as the treatment capabilities. We'll be looking at some large collection system lines in the west part of the city to bring new industrial flows to the existing plant until such a time that a new plant might be needed or we expand the existing plant. So a lot of things that are unknown right now as we move forward through a lot of this economic development, trying to put a strategy in place to stay ahead of this, this growth curve that we're on right now. We did put $50,000 in owner's contingency in that amount as well. So we do have that to fall back on if needed, and that is city-controlled contingency. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Powell?
We'd mentioned earlier in the meeting about using that type of water. Is it potable, or what kind of condition is it in when it comes through and out of the plant?
So we're currently treating to a level of A+ effluent. It's close to as good of water that we can get our effluent to, but as part of this project, we're going to be looking at increasing the quality of that effluent so that we can take advantage of potential direct inject
So we'll
recharge.
be able to use some of this directly then?
Yeah, we currently reuse quite a bit of this at the golf course, at the SRP generation plant, and we're going to be on a project that you've already approved. We're doing the final design on the constructed facility, which will help us get recharge credits, and then we currently have our wash facility, which is our permitted facility, which we're getting credits from today. So we're looking at a lot of those different opportunities, as well as working with Arizona Water on potential future projects to partner with to take advantage of
Can't get too
our
much
effluent.
water, I'll tell you.
Every drop counts.
Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a resolution for I-5, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5385, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a proposal from Wilson and Company, Inc., engineers and architects for the wastewater capacity improvement conceptual design study, authorizing the expenditure of public funds, and authorizing execution of a contract with or purchase order to Wilson and Company, Inc., in accordance with the terms submitted to Pinal County.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 5385 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item is I-6, an ordinance. This is an ordinance number 3323.
Thank you. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Empire Southwest LLC, and they are an authorized Caterpillar dealer, and we're going to be using the City of Tucson cooperative contract for fleet services for heavy equipment, parts, accessories, supplies, and related services. The focus of this contract is for the purchase of parts for our 17 pieces of heavy equipment that we have in the city, as well as the sanitation division's fleet and the parts that are needed for that as well. Caterpillar has the cooperative contract with the City of Tucson for municipal purchasing, and it's identified as contract 161534. Now, due to the aggregate amount of our daily purchases that we make, it throws us over that threshold to have a contract in place. Something we've not had to go through in the past, but because of our procurement policies, this cleans that effort up. So that's what the contract will do is this is our daily purchases. We don't know what we're going to need until we start working on a vehicle, and these are those aggregate amounts. And in our vehicle and equipment supply line item in that operating budget, we currently have a budget amount of $860,000. Obviously, we don't have a remaining amount of $860,000, but that's our budgeted amount. And then we also have a vehicle equipment and maintenance and repair line item that has a total amount of $289,206. And we also take advantage of fund transfers if we run short on those line items, so we would want authorization to utilize any appropriate fund transfers to cover the cost of the purchase of these parts. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Bob, any questions? Sorry, I forgot you were there.
No, sir. No.
Okay. chime in if you do, so.
I will.
All right, seeing no questions or comments, then I'll call for an ordinance number, please, 3323 on I-6.
Ordinance number 3323, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a proposal from Caterpillar, Inc. for heavy equipment, parts, accessories, supplies, and related services for fleet services, authorizing expenditure of public funds, and authorizing execution of a contract with or purchase order to Empire Southwest LLC as an authorized Caterpillar dealer in accordance with the terms submitted to City of Tucson.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 3323 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item is I-7 and another ordinance. This is 3324.
Staff recommends that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Genuine Parts Company doing business as Napa Auto Parts in accordance with the Arizona State Contract CTR 054507 to purchase parts and supplies for fleet services. This is a very similar to the last request. This is a contract for our daily parts purchases. In Casa Grande, it's known as Merle's Automotive. That's the Napa dealer here. So it's our daily purchases for all of our police and fire platforms, 134 light-duty trucks, 191 medium and heavy-duty trucks and equipment, as well as our 57 trailers that we maintain. So again, we don't know what we're going to be purchasing until we start working on something, and then this is the contract that gets us to stay within our policies. And again, we're utilizing the same line items, the vehicle and equipment supplies at $860,000, and then the vehicle equipment maintenance and repairs line item at $289,206, and of course, any fund transfers that are needed to meet the needs of the Fleet Services Department. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So Kevin, both of these use that same funding?
Yes.
Okay, and then Merle's Automotive, so you purchase your parts through them here in Casa Grande?
That's where we get a large amount of our parts. I'm not going to say it's the only place we get parts, because today, we're getting parts places we never thought we would need to get parts from. So it's wherever we find
We try
them.
and get them locally, right, through them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if we can procure locally,
Okay.
that's our preference.
All right, great, thank you. Anybody else have any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, then I'll entertain an ordinance number for I-7, please, Gloria.
Ordinance number 3324, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a bid from Genuine Parts Company, DBA Napa Auto Parts, for the purchase of vehicle and equipment repair parts for fleet services, authorizing expenditure of public funds, authorizing execution of a contract with or purchase order to authorized vendors in accordance with the terms submitted to the Arizona State bid list and the transfer of budget authority.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve ordinance number 3324 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
There's another one
Yes.
right there. Okay, one.
All right, we have no boards and commission reports tonight, so we'll move to item K, which is our additional action required by the council. So K1 is considering ordinance number 1397.08.30. Kevin?
Thank you. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council amend section 8.08.030, refuse collections of our city of Casa Grande, Arizona Code of Ordinances to allow others to collect recyclables. The city of Casa Grande, of course, suspended our curbside recycling program in July of 2019 for a myriad of reasons. And since that suspension, staff has been looking at many avenues and options to provide residents an efficient and economical curbside recycling program, and we just have not been able to come up with a viable option. However, there are commercial companies out there that believe they have a business model that can provide curbside services and could potentially provide other types of recycling services in the future. However, our code, the way it is written right now, only allows the city to provide refuse services, and the language says or recyclables. So the request tonight is just to remove the or recyclables portion of the code. So that would allow companies like, I think we've heard the name Recyclables thrown out several times at city council meetings, as a company that could come in and provide those services. We would have no connection with these companies, no affiliation with them. They would be operating like any other business in town, separate from any city involvement. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Lisa.
I know we're just taking out the one, just recycling, but if in the future there's something that comes up and we think that we might get back into it, we would just come in and change it again and include recycling in it? Or do you think this is?
This has zero impact on what we could do in the future to
Right.
provide recycling services.
Right.
The only difference would be, we would be competing with the private industries out there, and we need to come up with a plan that would be, cost-effective
Right.
to compete against them. But it does nothing to keep us from providing those services.
Anybody else? Yeah, Matt?
Thanks for looking into this, Kevin. People are excited. People want to recycle. I know it's not efficient for us, but this is a great opportunity for people that do want to recycle, and also, businesses, to the private sector, to do what they can to help our problem. So thanks.
Mayor, and I know that the company has already sent out postcards to many people, and fellow councilwoman Mary Cortson was very excited that she received hers, because this was something that she was very passionate about as well, so.
All right. Well, seeing no other comments or questions, then I'll call for the ordinance number, please, Gloria, on item K1.
Ordinance number 1397.08.30. An ordinance of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending section 8.08.030 of chapter 8.08 Garbage and Refuse Collection and Disposal of the Title 8 Health and Safety of the City of Casa Grande Municipal Code pertaining to recycling services, establishing the severability of the various sections of the ordinance, and establishing an effective date.
Mayor,
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve ordinance number 1397.08.30 as presented.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Gloria?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, he did. We had the same vote, so.
All right. Did you get that okay, Gloria?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. All right, next item is item K2. Gloria, this is over to you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, this item did not appear on the consent agenda because we did not have a unanimous vote at the last meeting, so we just have a reading and then a voting. Ordinance number 1397.17.55, an ordinance of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending all of the setback tables of Chapter 17.20 residential zones of the City of Casa Grande Municipal Code to update the minimum setbacks for all of the city's residential zone districts establishing the severability of the various sections of the ordinance, and establishing an effective date.
All right, so this is just a second read, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So are there any comments or questions on this? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to approve. You've read the ordinance.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 1397.17.55 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
I would like to move an amendment on there that any the minimum setback or the maximum setback would be 5. They have a 3-footer in here. And that's like this right here. It makes no sense. I know you're not going to do it, but that's what I'd like.
Is Paul here?
No.
Paul, can you address that, please? Because that's not being changed, correct?
Mayor McFarland, members of council, that is correct. The setback for the R1A zone district, as it sits today, is a minimum of 3 on one side and 10 on the other, which results in a separation of buildings of 13 feet side to side, typically. So that's factual. Procedurally on the amendment, I guess we have to ask the city attorney to address that issue.
Right, and I think it's appropriate to answer the question, but we're in the middle of a vote right now, so you can't actually make an amendment. It needed to occur prior to this thing. But to that, that section of the code is not being changed by
Right, so
this
can we
amendment.
make an amendment to change it at this point?
Not right
in time?
now.
We would need to go back at this point, or you could do a motion to reconsider later, but you'd have to start your process all over as a first read again. Probably a public hearing, we'd likely try
Right.
to start over, but,
So,
and
Mr.
you've already
Powell,
received, I think,
there-
5
there-
votes.
We're not changing the setbacks on the sides.
No, what I'd like to see is that there would be no setback used under 5 feet. A lot of them are 5, 10, 5, whatever. 3 feet
We already have it.
is
We
not.
we already have a 3-foot setback, correct?
In R1A.
Yes, that's the existing
In
code.
one particular zone.
But
Yeah.
we could look at that later.
And again, we are in the middle of a vote. I never want to stymie discussion,
Okay.
but it was moved, seconded, and 5 members have already voted.
Yeah, so we are in a vote, Mr. Powell. If we want staff to look at that, we can certainly do that later.
Yeah, maybe we could set that up for another meeting or whatever, if that would be okay. But as I say, anything under 5 shouldn't be a setback on side yards or whatever. So in my,
Okay,
what I
well, we
can tell.
can have that discussion later.
No, I know.
Okay, so what is
You
your
tame
vote?
me down.
What is your vote on this particular question then?
How would I vote on it? I guess yes, so it'll go through and be discussed.
Okay,
Mayor McFarland.
yes. Okay. So we'll move to item K3 and consider final adoption of ordinance number 1178.312.1.
Appears for a second reading, did not appear under the consent agenda because it did not have a unanimous vote at the first reading. Ordinance number 1178.312.1, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving a major amendment to the Change Pinal Commerce Center planned area development to the park at 3 Points planned area development for property generally located west of Pinal Avenue and south of Courtson Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
And Mayor, if I could, just to remind everyone, the reason it did not receive a unanimous vote is Councilmember Fitzgibbons recused.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I
himself
was
from
thinking-
anybody
I
from
know,
the
I-
prior one.
Right.
And I assume is doing so again today for the same interest.
Right, yes,
okay.
and I will abstain from voting.
Okay,
I was wondering, I was like,
okay.
I didn't think I was counted in since I did recuse myself, but.
Okay, so this is just a revote, and you've read the ordinance, so I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 1178.312.1 as presented.
second.
All right, a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender,
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston,
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons abstaining. Councilmember Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell,
No.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right. Now, last item on the agenda tonight is K4, consider approving the fall election for the city's 2022 primary and general election.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, staff recommends that council authorize the call of election for the city's 2022 primary and general elections. The city's primary election is scheduled for August 2nd, 2022. This election will be held for the purpose of nominating candidates for the mayor and 3 council seats. Mayor McFarland is eligible for his 4th term. The council members' seats that are up is Councilmember Powell, Councilmember Herman, and Councilmember Huddleston. Any candidate that receives a majority of the votes cast at the primary election will be declared elected to that office without having to run at the general election, which is scheduled for November 8th. The city does have an ordinance that establishes the methodology for determining the majority vote used at the primary election. The city clerk's office did present an overview of the election process on October 28th, 2021, in the council chambers. All persons that were interested running for the mayor or council seats were invited to the session. Nomination packets are available electronically on the city's website and also available by hard copy from the city clerk's office. Candidates seeking nomination for mayor and council members will be required to obtain at least 372 signatures and not more than 743 signatures from qualified registered voters of the city of Casa Grande. The last date to file nomination packets is April the 4th at 5 p.m. During this election, our candidates were able to obtain signatures electronically. I believe all of our candidates that are eligible currently to run are using that process. Additionally, in the general election on November 8th, we will be including a proposed bond measure and charter amendments. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions? All right, seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve for the call of elections for the city of Casa Grande for the primary, the 2022 primary and the general election.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye? Say aye.
No, Danny.
That's an aye?
Okay. All right. I think that's it. Besides reports. So,
Before the meeting's over, can I ask one more question on that 3-foot thing? Or can I not?
Since we're going to be discussing it potentially at a later meeting, I think you should ask it potentially after the meeting to Director Tice or I.
Seems to me too, it could be a real safety factor with something 3 feet away if you had a fire or a need to get out of a window.
Certainly,
And it would not be,
and I certainly understand that, and I think it may be good for you to speak to Director Tice, because it's 3 feet, but it's another additional on the other side, so you're not that close to another home. But again, because it's something that I believe we're gonna be discussing at a later council meeting, either through a study session or any motion or ordinance that you wish to support, we shouldn't be talking about it any further during the meeting tonight.
sounds good to me.
Okay, we'll move to reports. Then I'm going to go to you first, Mr. Powell. Any reports?
Sure. We've got a group that's going to present on the last day of February in Parker to the Native Americans there, the Crits, and go through showing them what can be done. That's what's really a problem right now is how do you get water into those 2 dams? Because unless it's something before it gets to it that gets in it, and that's what we've been talking about in the pipeline. But there's several people that are going to be involved that are in the water issues, and so I'm looking forward to that, and hope we can make some progress.
All right. Lisa, how about you?
Not much, but this Thursday is going to be the point in time, the homeless count, and so I just wanted to, thank Mary Allen with the city and the police departments helping coordinate that. There was a training last week, and I'll tell you, I was so impressed with the number of people that showed up. I think they have just about 50 people that are going to be participating in the count this year. So there's 8 teams going out. They're meeting at the CG Helps Resource Center. I would invite people to participate, but you had to go through the training, so if you haven't done that. But Chief, I just wanted to thank the police department. There's just been so many compliments from the agencies that serve Pinal County, and they're just so impressed with the city of Casa Grande and what they do to support them and the homeless and what they're doing to, work in the community. So, Chief Leos and Wendy and Sergeant Ingstrom, they just do such a fantastic job. So I want you to know that it is recognized, and these guys bragged about it at the meeting, so the agency, specifically CARA. So thank you to the police department. They'll be with us on Thursday, and it's such an important count. It's how they receive funding through housing and everything. So it is important. So we'll be out there 6 a.m. Right? You're participating there.
I'll be there.
Donna, are you going to be there too?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll be there. And a couple things as far as we of course celebrated the big win of the football Casa Grande Union, but we can't forget about the cheer team.
Yeah.
There's other sports that are doing great, great job, and Casa Grande Union cheer team got 2nd place in state, and Matt and I have, and you probably been to plenty of those cheer competitions, and it's just so impressive when you see this group of ladies and the cheer coach, Katie Kramer, and what she's done to the program. So congratulations to the cheer team. And of course, Casa Grande Union Band, you guys probably saw in the paper, they have a big, Mr. Hebda, my favorite teacher at the school, is doing such a great job pulling all the schools together and doing a concert on Thursday. So if anyone wants to come out to the high school,
7:30.
yep, all the
be
junior
there.
highs, and I'll be there too. And high schools will be performing. It's his first annual music gala. And so, again, a great program at the school. So a lot to celebrate in our
need a
school
band?
systems.
Pretty neat.
That's it for me, Mayor.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Matt?
Thanks, Mayor. A few things. Tomorrow night is the Chamber Mixer at the new Best Western, hosted by Texas Roadhouse. So that should be a pretty good one
Ribbon
to go
cutting
to.
at 4.
Ribbon cutting at 4. I was leaving that for you, but thanks. And so, neat thing, March, being in Casa Grande is the best month, but by far a busy month. So just next weekend, we have, on March 5th, not next weekend, the weekend after, we have the plein air event, for the outdoor painting contest, the Chamber Home Health and Garden Show, as well as Car Show, and that's hosted by Jones Ford at their soon-to-be new location at the Sam's Club. So that'll be a neat thing. And then Main Street Marketplace on the 5th, and Main Street has something every Saturday in March, not to mention other nights in March. So it's an exciting time to be in Casa Grande, and it's going to be awesome. And we're done with the wind. Did you order the wind this week, Mayor, or was it?
No.
Okay, well, we'll find out who did.
Yeah.
But thanks.
Donna?
Just a couple things. It's been really busy. Hats off to Steve Hardesty, the Community Service Master Plan kickoff. Virtual was held. I was really impressed by the number of people that took time out. It was about an hour and a half, but it went by really fast. And then Steve for helping organize the charging station. Larry did not get me my car inclusive, but that's okay. And then I wanted to remind, tomorrow is going to be here at City Hall at 6 o'clock, districting for the county. And as Lisa said, the point in time. Also, I just want to end, there was some really good media coverage on social media. There was a lady that was out enjoying the carnival out at our park, lost her debit card, and reported it to the police shortly after. An officer, and I didn't get his name, called her, and a 12-year-old had actually turned her card in, and the officer hand-delivered the card back to her house, and her 3-year-old got to enjoy some time in the police car and stuff. Not driving it, just, but it was really nice to see somebody saying good things, so kudos to the police department. That's it.
Nope. Bob, do you have anything you want to mention? If your voice can handle it.
Just happy to be back in a limited capacity, and I do hope to be present at the next scheduled council meeting.
Excellent. Well, we'll look forward to seeing
We
you.
miss you.
You're in our prayers, Bob.
Thank you.
Right. And just not to add any more to the Community Service Master Plan, but you can go online to the city's website. The website for that is www.planyourparks, as in plural, cg.com. And all of the updates are there. All the information from the virtual community meeting is there. And then any future information, you can kind of follow along as the plan progresses. And I'm going to imagine there'll be some input opportunities in that as well. So keep that in mind. It's your parks, so give us your thoughts. I did have the opportunity to plant some desert plants over at Firehouse 501 on a drizzly morning last week. So we planted a couple ocotillos and some other desert plants, so that all that decompressed granite now looks like it's got some life in it. So it looks good. That's part of our Save It program. The State of the City, I want to remind everybody, the State of the City address and interactive activity will be March 8th, which is in about 2 weeks. And all of your council members will be involved, or those who can be involved will be involved. So come see what your city's up to. You have to make a reservation, please. You can go online to the city's website and just put in State of the City address, or just State of the City, and Google it, and it should pop my picture up. And then right below my picture is the RSVP button that you can press and get tickets to the event. It will be at the community, it's going to be at our community center, which is over on Peart. It will start at 12:30. There's a reception. We might have some live music. There'll be some desserts, some Latino flavor to it. So come check it out, and then the presentation will begin sharply at 1 o'clock. So that's on March 8th. So please look for that, and love to see everybody there. It's a very good opportunity to get an update on your city.
You know I have one more thing when you're done.
Okay. Let's see. I did also a water presentation at Central, or the Center for Rural Leadership, which thank you to my fellow council members for being there.
Good job.
And I appreciate the support and you being there. And anyway, it was very interesting. We had the chairman of the board for the CAP was there, Terry Goddard, past mayor of Phoenix, and also governor of Arizona.
He quoted you too.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad I went before him because he used my name a lot. But anyway, it was a good interaction, good meeting. I also attended the state FFA, the Blue and Gold Banquet, last Saturday up in Phoenix. It's for the state, supports the state FFA clubs.
They get some state fire.
Huge, about 550 people at the event, and they raised a lot of money for the young people and for the clubs. So it was a great event. And then also got the opportunity to go over and see how Buckeye puts on an air show. So I was the guest of the mayor over there, and we chatted. I got some good contacts for some airplane information that maybe I'll share with the city. No, I will. I'm kidding. So that was an interesting weekend anyway. And then I had a NASA meeting this morning. So NASA is actually coming to Arizona with a aeronautics program for drones and also automation. So we're part of that conversation thanks to GPEC and our membership in the Greater Phoenix Economic Council. So there's more to come on that. That's some pretty exciting information. And then I also had a meeting with Senator Sinema today, and she wanted me to tell you all hello, and that she is working hard on our infrastructure, the bill that she helped get passed, but now needs to get out of the last hurdle and actually get implemented. So she's in the implementation mode. And I reminded her that we needed another $150 million for I-10. So I put that bug in her ear.
Did you remind her about the youth commission?
No, I didn't. I forgot. Sorry.
Hear that, Anthony?
I still need to. I'll call. Be better than doing it in that surrounding anyway. Anyway, that's all I've got. Thanks everybody. And Mr. Powell, you had one more thing.
Always. I just want to say, been watching television, our public safety is just eons ahead of what you see in these big cities and people doing, and they can't control crime and all those issues. So I want to compliment both our police and the firemen on the job you do here and the confidence this community has in you. So thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.
Phoenix